I want everyone to be mindful that these cards for individuals like myself who identify as a Black woman have no value outside of this space.
I normally do a crazy liberal of the day segment, but today we're doing a NDP episode. Because the NDP convention closed out this weekend and it gave rise to some of the funniest, most unhinged moments in Canadian politics that I have ever seen. So today it's dedicated to that. Let's call it the NDP Madhouse. Now, there's nothing I love more than watching the far left completely implode, but this is actually kind of concerning. But the memes, the salty tears, and the absolute screeching is glorious. So stick around because you don't want to miss this downright hilarious video. But I do have to warn you, and I can't stress this enough, this is not satire. My name is Ali Dango, and this is the Right Call Report Sunday Funday edition. Like, share, subscribe. Every interaction on this channel helps get the truth out and the laughs as well, apparently. And perhaps one day break that CBC-induced coma that so many Canadians, especially the NDP, are under. And if you're tired of that same old government and media BS and you finally want some common sense commentary or just some crazy dank memes, well, you found the right place, so smash that subscribe button. Now, today's episode is all about fun. The NDP had their convention over the weekend where they chose a new leader, and we will dive into who that new leader is, why this is bad for Canada in so many ways, and how it's probably going to give rise now to a Liberal majority forevermore. But first, we're going to dive into some of the craziest takes that has ever been seen in Canadian politics. The Madhouse has let their patience out. The NDP is completely unhinged. Stick around, grab a beer, grab 10 beers, and get ready to laugh. But again, this is sadly the truth of what's going on. First thing we need to do here is understand equity cards. Don't ask me, just watch it for yourself, but understand this very carefully before I even get started. If you don't get it by the end of it, you might get jailed under C9. But don't worry, I'll meet you guys there.
All right, just real quick, point of personal privilege. I understand there's very little time and for delegates to speak, but early on the mic, it's hard as a racialized and transgender delegate to sometimes use this card and speak up, speak to somebody in front of me in line and ask, hey, this pertains to multiple intersecting parts of my lived experience. I'd like to speak. I was rejected when I talked, and it's frustrating when these are my rights being directly under attack right now in Alberta, and that a cisgender woman had spoken over me. And I understand her rights are important too. This pertains to her too, but I don't know. I hope that in the future, the Federal NDP will also have a broader interpretation of the equity cards for speakers. That's all. Thank you.
I will invite delegates to assist me in better using the card by forming a straight line behind the microphone with a prominently displayed equity card. If I see speakers ahead of you who are not holding a card prominently, it would be wrong of me to guess about their gender identity, and I will come to you. This applies so far, according to your rules, for gender identities other than a dude, but it is open to us to change our rules as we like as we move forward into the bright and golden future. Thank you, friends. Let's hear the balloting co-chairs.
Did she call people to make a straight line? Did she misgender the line identity? Oh my God, to the gulag, she comes. Let's do it. So in case you thought I was joking about the equity card thing, I wasn't, all right? This over here was an NDP delegate / trans woman who was bitching that its equity card, which is supposed to allow one to jump to the front line to speak, may I add, didn't work. And that a cis woman got to speak before it did. These are the pressing issues of our time in Canada. Stick with me, it only gets worse.
My name is Mastura Tasneem. My pronouns are she, they. I'm from Ontario. Hello, bonjour. As we conduct this convention today and the past 2 days, right now there's discussions of 10,000 American men and women being sent to Iran, being deployed, just to be part of this bloodbath. Canada cannot and will not be part of the legacy of blood that was built in Iraq, in Palestine, and now in Iran. This is a no-question debate. I call this question, Madam and Chairs. Thank you.
Your point's quite well made, Speaker, I'll again thank delegates not to call me Madam Chair or Madame la Présidente. I'm a non-binary person. My pronouns are they, them, and their. Chair is sufficient. And with regret, you've spoken to the resolution. It's not open to you to also call the question. If the question is the will of the House, someone else must call it because we heard from you in substantive debate.
Okay, I was not aware.
Weird rule.
Weird rule. I concur. We're in agreement. I'm going to try to not use any pronouns here. I'm just so scared of not using the right one. So we're in agreement here. You know, identity politics just doesn't work because it inadvertently ends up in this weird pyramid of who can be the most offended all the time, the most marginalized, the most oppressed, the most underrepresented. Meritocracy to them is such a foreign concept. It's probably considered harm or an assault or a microaggression. I don't know the terms. But the source of their self-worth, of their self-esteem, isn't so much in their accomplishments or their personal ability in anything. No, it's all about their identity, which, may I add, can change. But it is kind of funny to watch them self-cannibalize, attack one another because, it's really hard to keep track with all the new rules, okay? I have a hard time. Imagine the people at this convention.
Go ahead. It's got a point of privilege. The microphones seem really low today. It's hard to hear everyone at the mic between the background noise and
It's not just the microphone that's low today.
the volume in here with the microphones is really hard to hear. And the closed captioning also is slower to make it hard to keep up with what's going on.
Thank you, Delegate. I have a hearing impairment, and I'm struggling to hear the delegates, and I know that you are too. Let's have some order.
Oh my God. There's a joke to be made about hearing impairment and, the ears. I won't make that joke. I can't make that joke. It's oh my God.
We'll hear from the delegate on microphone 1, please.
I did want to bring attention to the fact that a fellow delegate is holding the gender parity cards.
Let's take the microphone to that delegate. We'll hear from them right now.
Thank you, Josella. She, her.
My pronouns are she, her, elle en français. It's gonna be really hard to follow Rob Ashton. Amazing speaker. We are a working class party. I think most of us in this room are behind that, and while we can debate on this
Working class party. Unemployment doesn't count as working class. Ugh.
specific words and who is and isn't included, I think our Constitution needs to recognize that. And I also recognize there is, I'm sorry, I'm speaking way too fast. Let me slow down for the closed captioning. I'm so sorry, I get excited.
It's a point of privilege. The closed captions for this convention are running between 6 and 10 seconds behind. So it's just a request for the chairpersons to be aware. And when you move to a vote, I'm still reading the debate. So if we just take a little pause, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
Yes, bonjour, hi. My name is Parker Tian. I'm representing Vancouver Quadra. Just to reply my Franco comrades' prior point of privilege earlier, as you can see, I do.
We're at the point where we call them comrades now. I try not to call them communists, but they make it very hard.
One of the translating device. However, I'd like to raise this to the chair's concern that the sign-out process for this device is not necessarily the best because it requires you to fill the form and give a piece of your ID, and most people don't even know where to get it, which is behind the registration table. And also, like, they don't have enough pens when we're there, so there was a very long line up. Also, for the device itself, because it's using infrared technology, you have to kind of like position it so it can receive the signal.
In his defense, I kind of like this tie. You know, I used to laugh at this kind of stuff back in the days when these folks were in university. But here's the thing with time. It passes. And these people have now graduated from university. And they brought that kind of thinking into all strata of societies. They are your teachers. They are your educators. They are your middle management. They are your NGO executive. They are now your third political party leadership. And even more scary than that, they're probably your lawyers and your judges too. So we're worried about C9, right? Oh, it's going to get so much worse, because when people like that are the ones judging you for the memes that you put out on Facebook and on Twitter, we're in a world of trouble. But yes, this is now the ruling class.
There's a point of privilege on microphone 1, then we'll go to microphone 3. Go ahead, delegate.
Yes, hello. I was standing here with my gender equity card before you called on the previous speaker.
That's my point of privilege that I would like to raise.
I will explain the speaking order, which is fixed, that I cannot amend, which is the pro-con rotation. You can move yourself up a line that you're standing in.
I am pro, and I was...
We went...
You went pro, con,
We went pro-con, pro, and my plan was to go con. The speaker at con mic 3 also has a speaking card.
Yesterday, this card was used in an inappropriate manner. And while I understand in Ontario we note this as equity, even if that, this was also used inappropriately in terms of gender. I want everyone to be mindful that these cards for individuals like myself who identify as a Black woman have no value outside of this space.
Amen. That was a moving, inspiring speech.
North Seymour, pronouns he, him. Point of information.
What information do you seek, Delegate?
Can I ask an election about, or can I ask a question about executive elections to the chair?
As I understand it, what more election results we have are going to be announced at the end of the day.
I have a point of information for the elections committee.
The elections committee has gone to do balloting and they're not available to answer your questions.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry. Microphone 4, are you on a point?
Point of order, Robert Alley, he, they. My understanding as an equity-seeking delegate is that these cards are to help the chair hear equity-seeking persons and that we don't only hear from white male delegates. Now, this is my first convention, so I could be wrong, but the reason for my concern is that yesterday during the housing resolution, after a white man spoke, someone at this mic waved their equity card only to give their speaking spot to a white man. Now, that white man being a leadership delegate, notwithstanding, I had lined up for a long time to discuss the housing resolution, like many others, including my fellow delegate, Akua. I just want us as a body to understand the spirit of these cards, because we are a party governed by processes and not by any sort of shock doctrine.
Sorry, he woke me up at the end there. Shock doctrine, oh my God. I don't really have to give any commentary, right? I mean, you guys are on the same line as me, in the same wavelength, right? It's funny on its own, right? I don't have to like crack out the jokes. Oh my God. Keep in mind, these people want to form government at the federal level. They want to run a country. They want to take care of foreign affairs. They want to take care of the military. They want to take care of interprovincial commerce. They want to take care of trade relationships. They want to take care of energy. They want to take care of administering the justice system. They want to take care of immigration. But they don't seem to be able to even run so much as a convention. Hell, I don't even think they can run their own speaking rules in a freaking way that is simple, orderly, and productive. We are so far from the Jack Layton days, who, may I add, was someone that kind of tickled my interest when I was like 15 or 16. He was eloquent, he had some ideas, he seemed to have some convictions, and although I never had the chance or the regret to vote for the NDP because I was too young, it still kind of caught my attention when it comes to politics. But we are so far away from this. This has now been the implosion of the NDP, and it makes you wonder, is that what we want from Canada? Do we want Canada to implode any further? I mean, it's been a decade now of liberal leadership and liberal policies, and we know how far we've gone. Now imagine how bad it would be with this. And God, I thought there was no way that Jagmeet could destroy the NDP any more than he did. I was so wrong. I was so fundamentally wrong. And just real quick, I've attended a convention before. I've been to the Conservative Party convention. And let me tell you, this is night and day. At the Conservative convention, it was orderly, it was respectful, it was ideas being brought forward. And sure, there were some disagreements on policies, but it was orderly, it was debated properly, and it showed serious people, serious competence. It showed people that had the willingness and, most importantly, the ability to run a country. So anyways, Canada's very far left party has now elected their new leader, Avi Lewis. He can be summed up in just a few short words. He's a communist who wants to implement rent control, publicly owned grocery stores, and wealth tax on the richest Canadians.
39,734 votes. 39,734 votes. 39,734 votes. Of Canada's NDP, le nouveau chef du NPD, Avi Lewis.
The new leader of the NDP, Avi Lewis.
Now let's listen to what Avi Lewis had to say on his debut speech as Canada's new far-left political party leader.
Mr. is very popular at the moment. He's a smart guy, and most Canadians still want to give him the benefit of the doubt. That's fair. But I think when you connect the dots, his moves do not add up to the vision that Canadians truly want and deserve in this perilous moment. $500 billion in a decade for weapons to make Canada a major arms exporter in a war-torn world. Slashing our cherished public services. Sweeping aside Indigenous rights. Full steam ahead, no regulations on AI. And pipelines. In the last federal election, Canadians voted to say no to Trump and Trumpism. What they're getting instead is our government following the U.S. into a future of wars, fossil fuels, austerity, and job-killing generative AI. Our NDP has a different offer for this country. Our plan is to Trump-proof the economy by investing massively in Canadian
Trump-proof the economy. That's a pretty good line. Shame, ding, shame, ding. I would play that clip, but copyright strikes. Ding, shame.
economic independence, using the unmatched power of public ownership to ensure the fundamentals of a good life. A network of public providers for food, phones, and internet. A public housing developer and public construction companies to build millions of non-market homes. A 21st century electrical grid, an EV bus revolution, and a heat pump in every home, built with Canadian steel, creating tens of thousands of unionized jobs.
I've always wondered what it was like to see the Soviet Union rise, the rise of communism in Russia. I think that's probably what it looked like. A little bit. Yeah, everything he just said is textbook Marxism. Public everything. Just public everything. Funded by dreams and hopes and the taxes of billionaires who for some reason will stay in Canada and not just go anywhere else in the world. It turns out it'll just be you paying for it. You're already taxed to the brinks of bankruptcy, but don't worry. Don't push you to it. When people rely on the government to live, the government is not there to serve you anymore. They own you. And I can't think of a better speech that encompasses the whole you'll own nothing, but you'll be happy. Shame. By the way, notice how there's no Canadian flags. There's a Palestinian flag. Actually, several. There's no Canadian flags. Just putting it out there. And it didn't take long for the party to start fractioning within itself already, because you have Alberta's leader of the NDP party, Naheed Nenshi, who himself is already a pretty interesting case, right on X. Today, the federal New Democratic Party selected its new leader. It is clear that the direction of the federal party under this new leader, someone who openly cheered for the defeat of the Alberta NDP government, is not in the interest of Alberta. Then he goes on to say how he doesn't support them and how provincial NDP members don't have to be federal NDP members. Anyways, the infighting has started. Again, they can't even run their own party. They can't even run their own freaking convention. They can't even run their own freaking conversations, but they want you to vote for them because they apparently can run a country. Well, here's your new NDP party, guys. That's what the logo is like, or maybe should be like. But you know what's concerning to me? Is that now Canada is officially a two-party state. We're just like the United States. We have the Conservatives and the Liberals because it's over for the NDP. They will never form government. I am convinced, and I know there's a lot of issues in Canada and there's a lot of Canadians under the spell of the CBC, but I'm convinced, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the overwhelming majority of Canadians reject that kind of lunacy. There's no way this party appeals to the average worker, the average Canadian, no matter who they are. Now, the problem for Canada, however, is that using the current federal voting system, the first past the post system, which heavily favors the Liberals, if you don't have a third party to sadly come and leech some votes away from the Liberals and win some seats away from the Liberals, you've just ultimately given the Liberal government and the Liberal Party a probably super majority forevermore. Which makes me wonder for a second, was this all part of the plan? Did Carney and the liberals or whatever, I don't want to go into conspiracy here, but have they helped enable this, the downfall of the third party that used to cannibalize some votes away from them in order to cement their majority? Because the problem is, even though half the country now votes for conservatives, yes, roughly half the country votes liberal, half the country votes conservative, a little bit to the bloc, apparently some for the Greens. I mean, Elizabeth May, we got to keep her. She's a meme herself. She's an establishment. But yeah, I mean, was this orchestrated to ensure that forevermore now, the conservatives will never form government? I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. Fine, guys. We'll do one crazy liberal take of the day, okay? As a cherry on top for this hilarious Sunday report, there was a No Kings protest in Canada. Again, this is not the first one. This was obviously directed at our southern neighbors and Donald Trump, obviously, which is to me hilarious because, I mean, let's imagine for a second attending a protest in Canada against a foreign nation. But I think someone forgot to tell them a tiny little inconvenient fact. The US, well, has no kings. Trump is not a dictator. The US political system has more checks and balances than Canada's centralization of power. The Westminster system centralizes power. I mean, the Prime Minister actually has more power than the US president. And I'll make an episode, I'll do an entire episode breaking it down as to why. But if you truly would embody the powers of a king, the Canadian Prime Minister would definitely have it way more than the US president, which has unbelievable amounts of checks and balances to rein in his power. But you also know what Canada actually has? A king. Canada has a king. And that's your crazy take of the day. If you'll forgive me, I'm going to go wash my eyes and my ears with acid because I cannot unsee and unhear what I heard preparing this report today. If you want to take a break from, this lunacy, well, you're welcome to click right here to learn more about how Canada is being infiltrated by what appears to be foreign assets that work for another government. But until then, my name is Elliot Daniel, and I'll see you guys this week.